My name is Strazdiņa. I'm journalist of Latvian television, foreign news editor, and I'm very happy today to meet with Ambassador of Germany in Latvia, Mr. Christian Heldt. Thank you so much for your time. I always appreciate our discussions about the world, about Germany, about the current situation in many countries. Thank you so much that you agreed to this conversation.
Well, thank you so much. Very happy to follow this invitation of NATO for this interview, and very happy also to have it with you as one of the most eminent personalities in Latvian media on foreign policy. So happy to be here, and thank you for having me.
Thank you so much, dear Ambassador. And we would start with a very important question, which is very well known to you. Germany is still preparing, as we speak now, Germany is still preparing for the elections, parliamentary elections. But one thing we know for sure, that current German Chancellor Angela Merkel will not longer run for Chancellor post. Do we have reason to believe that there will be fundamental changes after her in Germany's politics?
I frankly think no. We have had a very long period now of Angela Merkel leading the country. I fully understand that, of course, many people in Germany and also in other places, close partners like here in Latvia, are asking themselves what will come after this. But if we look back to the past decades, there haven't been that many changes on this particular post of German Chancellor. There never have been any fundamental changes with a new political personality leading the country. And I think that is a good trademark of German politics, that there is a broad consensus among the democratic parties that the basic lines of German foreign policy, European policy, security policy never go through fundamental changes. That is consistency. And I think that is not just what partners within the EU, within NATO expect from Germany, but that is also what the German population wants: consistency and reliability.
So, could we believe that the current CDU leader Armin Laschet, who might be the next chancellor, he would follow Mrs. Merkel's path regarding politics in Germany and also in the European Union, as we know that we consider Germany as a very much leading country in EU?
Well, absolutely. I mean, I do believe that Germany's role within the EU is important because the EU is important to Germany. I mean, Laschet himself comes from the west of our country, bordering as a Prime Minister of North Rhine-Westphalia, the by population biggest federal state in Germany with 16 million inhabitants. He's from the Rhineland, so by nature he is, I think, a very pro-European personality who, in his role as Prime Minister of North Rhine-Westphalia, of course, also already has a day-to-day working relationship with the European Union. But on the other hand, I would say that all three candidates those leading the polls right now are essentially all pro-European. Olaf Scholz is our Vice Chancellor and Finance Minister, so he has day-to-day dealings in the European context, and also the same applies for Annalena Baerbock. This, let's say, state reason of Germany that we do not see ourselves going astray with respect to our European policies and also the responsibility we have within the European Union. I think this is something valid for all the main candidates.
Mm-hmm. For us in this region, in the Baltics, it's very important how the leaders of Germany speak also with our eastern neighbors. In this case with Mr. Vladimir Putin. Merkel, as you mentioned, Laschet comes from the Nordic part, western part of Germany. Yeah. So Angela Merkel has this eastern part experience. She also speaks Russian, if I'm not mistaken. So she could talk to Putin in a little bit different way than the other leaders of the European countries. So how about this aspect, the next leader of Germany and Putin, Russia, how these relationships might develop?
Well, you're absolutely right. Angela Merkel had a specific angle which also made her position pretty unique amongst Western leaders in general, because she does speak Russian, and let us not forget that I think is also one of the reasons why she is so pro-European and pro-NATO, that she, as a child and a young woman, experienced the Eastern system herself in Eastern Germany, and also caused her to be a very outspoken proponent of freedom, with her own biographical aspects coming into this. So yes, she had a specific understanding, but understanding not in the way of being naive, quite on the contrary, about Russia specifically, but always wanted to keep the door open for conversation, but also to convey things. But looking back again, I see the same applying, for example, for Helmut Kohl, Helmut Schmidt, and so many other leaders who, of course, had a different upbringing, but still coming back to the raison d'etre of Germany's European security and foreign policy and the consistency in that, that I would also expect the same approach from those candidates running now, once they will be in office. So, relationship without illusions.
Yeah, that's right. And how about United States? Because during the Mr. Trump administration, it wasn't easy, because there was quite harsh conflict between Mrs. Merkel and Trump regarding trade and other issues. What can we expect in the future relationships between Germany and the United States?
Well, I think with the administration of President Biden, already in the first month, we could see how much we depend on each other. And the pictures we've been seeing now over the last days from Afghanistan show how essential it is that we stick together. And this is valid not just for Germany, but for all European states and also the free democracies around the world. President Biden, I think, put it very clearly in his speech at the Munich Security Conference back in February of this year, where he also spoke about the competition of the system we are seeing now on a global scale. So I think this is valid for Germany and the US bilaterally, but also within NATO and within the club of or the family, I would rather call it, of the free democracies around the world. If we want to prove ourselves, if we want to prove our values and our thinking, we have to stick together. And as far as I can see it, already in the first months of the new administration in DC, we are seeing this being proven. There is a new approach on cooperation and working together in a world which isn't exactly getting easier.
That's right. Still speaking about Mrs. Merkel, how do you think, where is her phenomenon of her leadership? Why she is so respected in EU and also here in the Baltic states? What is the key of her skill to lead the country?
Well, this is kind of tricky to analyze your own head of government, but maybe just to give you some impressions about the phenomenon Angela Merkel. You could see her on pictures doing her own shopping in the supermarket, or people suddenly seeing her queuing up with her husband for concert tickets. So I think it's this being extremely modest, being a brilliant mind, analytically, knowledge, substance, and basically I would say her strength is that others underestimate her. And this is maybe something which applies also to other female leaders. So we could enter a whole discussion on female leadership. But these skills of also consistency, reliability, modesty, and at the same time convincing simply with the power of her arguments and the very unexcited way she deals with things, which made her a political leadership phenomenon in Germany, but also in the international context.
Do you think she will go away totally from the politics, or she would stay still somehow?
That's also a difficult one. Crystal ball category again, but my guess would be that she would not need to be on stage anymore to satisfy her ego. I know we have that phenomenon in other cases, but I think she has a broad range of interests, and definitely she gave a lot to our country and also partners over the past almost 16 years. So I think she deserves now also some time of her own, but really not knowing what kind of plans she would have.
I would imagine that many universities and media would call constantly to try to get her as a speaker, as a leader of opinion. So she might be, popular still many years.
Oh, absolutely. But I wouldn't think that she would be searching for a political role after, by her own, deciding when to relinquish this tremendous job she has been doing for the past 16 years at the helm in Germany and also in the concert with the big nations in the world.
Mr. Heldt, speaking about the elections, how do you think how easy or difficult that would be to form coalition? Because we have these three parties going ahead, Christian Democrats, Social Democrats and Greens. They are all strong and very promising. What about coalition? How easy that would be to make it?
Well, right now, of course, you have political analysts working on all models, all possible models of coalition of the democratic parties. We already have on the scale of the federal states practically all possible models of who's in the lead and who's joining a coalition. And as far as we can see from the outside, in all of these federal states, the models work out. And that is something about the capability also of democratic parties to work together for the sake of the country. So I would hesitate to give any precise forecast now for the composition of a coalition or for the duration of coalition talks. I think all parties are very well aware of the challenges Germany is facing and will be facing, and try to form a new government as soon as possible, respecting the, let's say, individual characters and also policies the various partners are now showing in the election campaign. So
we'll see.
We'll see.
Indeed. And speaking also about the choices, economy is doing well in Germany. Everything is really in a good shape. What are the questions which are very important, interesting, and driving, and will push people to make a choice? What are the main issues still in your country?
Well, I think a lot will depend upon the choices that the main contenders are offering to the population, proposing to tackle the challenges we're facing. And I mean, we have very pressing issues like how to move on with the corona crisis and its impact on all spheres of society. But let us not forget, I mean, we had these horrible floods this summer in Germany. So climate change is impacting us. And so what answers do we have for the transformation we have now decided also overall in the European Union towards a carbon-free society? What are the plans and programs the various parties are proposing to get there? What will be the impact on individual citizens? How are we going to deal with the digital transformation? Because we have also seen that in Germany we have still quite a lot of homework to do. Maybe in some aspects we should also look at the Baltic states, for example, not just Estonia, but also Latvia, how to live with a better state of digitalization. So these are questions which are probably at the mind of everybody, going together with a world which at the moment poses a lot of challenges, and how not just in Germany, but amongst democracies in Europe and around the world, we are going to stand together to face these challenges. And then people will, according to party programs and also the personalities of the candidates, make their decision.
Yeah, and I think also recent floods and situation with climate also, in a way, helps Green Party to motivate the electorate. Is that true?
Absolutely. I mean, for the Green Party, of course, this has been a trademark right from the beginning. But all parties in the meantime have understood that this is one of the main, if not the main challenge we will be facing over the next decades. So I think there are gradual differences, of course, in the way how to implement these policies and to get on the road to carbon-free societies. But people will have to see which recipes they would most adhere to with impact on society, but also on them individually as citizens and private households. But definitely environmental issues have come a long way over the past decades and are now really ranging on the top of the agenda of all parties.
And finally, Mr. Heldt, we are here today in Riga, and this is also a very special year for us because this is anniversary year of our diplomatic relationships between Germany and Latvia and also Baltic states. How Germany sees us in these days, how important the Baltic states are for your country?
Well, as you mentioned, 30 years ago there was this surge of renewal of diplomatic relations, and our first ambassador here also told me under which circumstances he arrived in Riga pretty exactly 30 years ago. And as first overall ambassador, that's why I'm also driving an official car with the license plate 100, as first foreign ambassador presented his credentials here. And this was, I mean, in the whole context, if we look back then, the freedom movements all over Central and Eastern Europe, a tremendous wave of hope. And this, I think, was pretty much the motive, if you look back also at the situation in Germany back then, 1991, reunification was just a year old. I mean, if we look back now 30 years, it seems like very distant, but I have very vivid memories of the summer of '89 with the pictures coming here from the Baltic states, and then later in November, the fall of the wall after the massive demonstrations throughout Eastern Germany, which also got a specific momentum. So after the Baltic Way, and such popular manifestations to say we want our freedom back were energizing. But then after such moments also comes the hard work of getting to places, and we are extremely happy looking back now, and I also have vivid memories of 2004 when Latvia was among the many states back then joining the EU in this kind of Big Bang moment, and also NATO, which seems so important also right now coming to the present. I mean, Germany is lead nation for the EFP presence in Lithuania. We're regularly also here with the air policing. That's the security part. But in so many other ways, Germany and Latvia are intertwined between societies, economies, that I think we can all draw a very positive resume of the past 30 years. And just yesterday we had a high-ranking dialogue of the 4 ministers of European affairs in Berlin with young people from all 4 countries discussing where Europe should go in the future. And that is what we're going to be working on and keep working on to also jointly shape the future of our countries within the European Union and all the other alliances that bring us together and bind us together.
Thank you so much, Mr. Heldt. It's always very nice and interesting to talk to you. Thank you so much for your time, and hope to see you again very soon. And thank you everybody who watched us. Thank you so much, and we'll see you in Riga conference. Goodbye.
Good morning to all of those watching in Riga here with us, and to all of us joining us from far away. I am Strazdiņa Heldt. I'm the head of strategic development at the Latvian Transatlantic organization. And I've been joined here this morning with His Excellency Christian Heldt, who you just heard from an interview that we did just about in early September. And we have gathered here today, this morning, just to give you a small update on what has changed since this interview was taken. And we were just discussing, as we prepared to address all of you this morning, that, well, there's been quite a few changes, actually. And maybe you can shed some light on how is the coalition developed differently than what was expected, and please.
Well, good morning, everybody, and thank you for this opportunity to give us a quick update on what we've seen now since the interview was done. Elections are over. Contrary to what was thought beforehand about the possibility of a two-party coalition, right now we're going for a three-party coalition. So headed by the Social Democrats with one of the three candidates we spoke about in the interview, Olaf Scholz, the candidate of the Social Democrats, and together with the Green Party and the Liberal Party. So these three parties for the past days have been conducting orientation talks, which have ended yesterday, presenting a first 12-page, let's say, orientation paper, which will be the basis for coalition talks starting next week. Also going back to the interview, I stated that basic lines of German foreign policy, European policy, security policy would not go through revolutionary changes as they never did when there was a change of government coalitions in Bonn or now Berlin. I think very much the same applies here. A quick look at this orientation paper where we have a broad chapter on Germany's responsibility in Europe and in the international sphere shows that all basic parameters are there. There is a clear statement on the existential role of NATO for our security, a clear commitment to collective security in that sense, a clear statement for the commitment to the European policy along a strong Franco-German partnership, but what I also would like to underline, also in the framework of the Weimar Triangle, meaning the cooperation between France, Germany, and Poland. On the security field, there's a particular sentence that caught my attention. You might all remember how Angela Merkel once stated that the security of Israel is state reason for Germany. This sentence is repeated in this orientation paper. So overall, it is a confirmation of the basic outline of German security, foreign and European policy as we have had it. Consistency in that is going through the lines here. Of course, everything will now have to enter into coalition negotiations we will be seeing over the next weeks. But that's roughly, to sum up, where we stand right now. And we will have to be patient. Coalition talks are still ahead. There are, of course, a lot of hurdles, but the atmosphere seems good. Whether we will have a new government before or after Christmas, that is the million-dollar question or million-euro question right now. Because on a more anecdotic note, people will, of course, be seeing whether Angela Merkel will beat the record of Helmut Kohl with 16 years in office, which will be roughly around Christmas.
Well, that's still a competition that she still has some time, right?
Well, absolutely.
We'll see, for sure. I think from what you're saying, then we have not much to worry about. German leadership in a European level will stay where it is. new initiatives such as, I believe, climate change was also issued.
Absolutely.
And these important initiatives on a global scale will be caught up on as well. And well, thank you. Thank you for this short update. We are here in Riga today, and I was joined by Ambassador Christian Heldt, His Excellency representing Germany here in Latvia. And I am Justine from the Latvian team, and I invite you all to join us throughout the day for the last day of the Riga conference. And we will now tune in to the main stage. Thank you.